Hello, my name is Andy. I am a Joburg-based flight attendant for a large commercial local for one of South Africa's largest commercial local low-cost airline. How do I describe it? Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Andy. Welcome to the channel. I am a Joburg-based flight attendant for a major South African airline. So a few weeks ago I made a video that was in collaboration with African Marie, and we were talking about the differences between being a flight attendant for a domestic local airline in South Africa versus being a flight attendant for an international airline like Emirates. And in that video I asked you guys if you would like me to do a video about being a commercial flight attendant here in South Africa versus being a charter flight attendant here in South Africa. I am going to do it kind of in the same format where I tell you guys about the pros and cons about each one, and from then on you can kind of make your mind up about which one you think would be better suited to you. You know, let me know in the comments which one you're kind of leaning towards or which one sounds better to you. If you're not really sure about what charter versus commercial means, basically if you fly for a commercial airline, that means you work for, you know, any of the local airlines. South African Airways, Kulula or Mango or Fly Safair. If you fly charter, that means you fly for a specific company that leases its aircraft out either to companies or other airlines and flies on behalf of them if that airline maybe has a high demand of flights but doesn't have enough aircraft. Then they would lease their aircraft out from a charter company. You as a charter company crew member would operate on behalf of that airline. When I was working as a charter flight attendant, I did operate some flights for AIRLINE. AIRLINE is an airline, but I was flying for my charter company and we were operating flights on behalf of AIRLINE. So we would operate their flight, but it would be on our aircraft with our rules and our uniform and our procedures in terms of safety and stuff, but we would be rolling out their service. They would literally cater us with all of their normal catering, with all of their AIRLINE branded stuff. On the inside, our headrest covers and stuff would say AIRLINE, and I would do an AIRLINE service and we would go to AIRLINE destinations. We also charter flights for big companies where we just take their people, like we take sports teams places, we take company employees to and from their base, stuff like that. That's the simplest definition I can give you. Anyway, let's get into the pros and cons. So I have 4 pros of being a charter and 4 pros of being commercial, but then I've only got 3 cons. So for each of them the pros outweigh the cons, I guess. My first pro working as a charter flight attendant is the money. I haven't worked for every single charter company in South Africa, but from what I know, you get your basic salary. If you go on contract and you are out of the country for a certain amount of time, you get extra money. Now for me, back in 2017, I want to say, I used to get $80 a day for every day that I was out of the country. $80 roughly at that time was about 1,000 rand, and if I was out of the country for 5 days I would get 5,000 extra in my salary that month. If I was out of the country for 30 days I would get 30,000 rand extra which I don't know about you guys, but that is a lot more money than what I make now flying commercial. So you kind of can afford a little bit more, or you can afford to put some money into savings. So yeah, the first pro of being a charter flight attendant is that the money is way better. My second pro is that you actually get to travel and explore the destination that you're in. So if you're spending 5 days in Harare, let's say, which I used to do a lot, out of those 5 days, chances are you're not flying every single day, or maybe some days you're flying a little bit later, so you've got time in the morning. But there's a good chance that you had time to kind of at least walk to the shops or walk and do something around the area. That's really nice because you got a chance to actually explore where you were. The third pro of flying charter is that you get to fly single crew. This obviously depends on the type of aircraft that your company operates, but my company operated ERJ 145s among other aircraft, but the one I primarily flew on was the ERJ 145, and that aircraft only seats 50 passengers, which means you only need 1 cabin crew member on it. For some people I think this could be a con, depending on your independence and like what you prefer and how personable and extroverted you are. As extroverted as I am, I really enjoyed flying as a single cabin crew member, especially as my first flying job. You learn to be so independent, you learn to do everything by yourself. I want to say it doesn't teach you to be lazy. My fourth pro of being a charter flight attendant is that you get exposed to new cultures, which I thought was absolutely priceless. This is something I've always been open to and something I've always enjoyed. That is why I went to America. That is why I lived in the Netherlands for a year. I love just being surrounded by people of different cultures, people with different mindsets, people with different ways of thinking. I feel like being a flight attendant ended up being the perfect career for me because that is something I enjoy so much, and being a flight attendant needs you to be the type of person that enjoys being surrounded by people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different mindsets, all that kind of stuff. Okay, now on to the pros of being a commercial flight attendant and flying for an airline. My first pro is that you get a chance to be a permanent crew member from the get-go, or at least after your probation period. And the fact that you're permanent just brings you such a sense of calm. Then you can kind of get your life started, if that makes sense. Because for me, a lot of my plans for my life include things that I kind of need a permanent position for. Like if I want to buy property one day, if I want to buy a car one day, I need that permanent contract to show that I'll be able to make those payments. That sense of security is priceless. And also you just kind of don't want to constantly be looking over your shoulder or like worrying like, am I gonna have a job next month? Because trust me, I've been through that and it is not fun. The second pro of being a commercial flight attendant is that you get to fly in a team. Now, as much as I enjoy and appreciate all the lessons learned from flying a single crew, there's something about flying in a team that is also just so comforting, specifically during emergencies, especially medical emergencies. The nice thing about working in a team and having 3 other flight attendants on board with you is that as soon as they know that there's a medical emergency, you can start assisting the person that is having the issue while another person goes and tells the pilots what's happening. Another person can go and start bringing you medical equipment. Another person can start making the announcement to ask for a doctor to assist us with the emergency. Do you know what I mean? Like everything just moves much faster and you get to focus on what you're doing. It's so much more comforting because you know, okay, I have a whole team to back me up here. I have a whole team to support me and help me through this. The third pro with being a commercial flight attendant is your freedom with your roster. It's so important, and well, I mean, it obviously depends on your lifestyle and what you prioritize in life, but I think for a lot of people who want to be home and a lot of people who maybe have children or are married, it is the roster that makes it possible for them to sustain those relationships. It's really nice. I mean, obviously, if you're rostered to fly on Christmas, you're rostered to fly on Christmas. That's one thing that you're never going to be able to swap that flight out for. But for the most part, the rest of your roster is really quite easy to get around. And the fourth and final pro of being a commercial flight attendant is that you actually get flight benefits. As a charter flight attendant, you do not get flight benefits because technically you're not affiliated with any airline. You're not connected to any airline. You are contracted out to operate for them, but that doesn't mean that you can actually get any of their benefits. Like I mentioned before, I operated charter flights for AIRLINE, but that didn't mean I could just jump on an AIRLINE aircraft and fly to any of their destinations for free because I wasn't a crew member at AIRLINE. Does that make sense? So yeah, the flight benefits are something that I've actually never gotten an opportunity to use before, and I've been flying for 3 years, you guys. And I joined my current airline a year ago, but to this day I still haven't gotten an opportunity to actually make use of the flight benefits because I was on probation. I just haven't gotten a chance, and then COVID happened. As soon as COVID drama is kind of more over and more places are open and stuff and I can kind of make plans, then I definitely plan on using my benefits to bring you guys more travel videos. Okay, now moving on to the negative parts. The first con of being a charter flight attendant is the fact that you can't really make plans. You can, but can you? Unless you take certain days of leave, you can't really make plans. Now, when you get called out on standby for a commercial airline that only flies local, chances are you're going to be home at the end of the day. So if they call you out, it's fine, because you're just going to arrive a little bit later to that event, you know, but you're still going to be home at the end of the day. When you're flying for charter and you're on standby, you don't know if you're going to get called out for a day, 3 days, or 3 weeks. So yeah, it's just one of those things that when you are on standby, you're like really on standby for anything. I will catch up with you guys when we are getting ready to go and see Ed Sheeran tomorrow. Well, clearly this isn't an Ed Sheeran concert. The second con of working charter is that there is no guarantee of a permanent position. This is something I really struggled with when I flew for my previous company. For the first year that I flew for them, I could not be permanent. I was on a 12-month contract with them, and then at the end of the year they either could make me permanent or not. Unfortunately, by the time my 12 months was up, my company just didn't have enough contracts coming in. They just didn't have enough clients coming in to the point where they could justify keeping me on as a permanent crew member. So the timing was really off, and that really sucks. And like I said, I was nervous about that the entire year. So can you imagine an entire year just thinking, will I have a career at the end of this year? Will I have a job at the end of this year? And for me, unfortunately, I didn't. That is the realities of flying charter, which for me, I'm so sorry, it is the type of stress that I just don't need. So stressful, especially for a career that I love and that I want to grow in, to be told, hey, wait now, this might not actually last forever. It's just the scariest thing. The third con of being a charter flight attendant is that you're exposed to new cultures. Now, I know I mentioned this as a pro earlier, and for me it genuinely was a positive thing, but I do know that for certain people it might not be. They might not experience it the same way that I did, and being exposed to different cultures could be a negative thing for certain people just because they could be exposed to the negative parts of that culture. Like, for instance, when I was in Gabon, Gabonese people, they have a certain attitude about them that could rub people the wrong way. You know, I would be boarding the aircraft on multiple occasions and I would be saying, "Good morning, sir, welcome on board, may I please see your boarding pass?" And the passenger would be like, "Why are you not speaking French?" And I'd be like, "Well, I'm not French, I'm South African." And they'd be like, "Yeah, but you're in my country, you should be speaking French." It was kind of difficult if the ground staff member is male and me as a female cabin crew member is telling them to get me something, or telling them to do something for me, or telling them, "No, don't bring the passengers yet," or whatever. It was very difficult to get through to them, because to them, they're like, "Why is a woman telling me what to do? Like, how dare you tell me what to do? I don't have to listen to you." You know, there was kind of a lot of that attitude. Not every time, don't get me wrong, guys. This is exactly why I mentioned it as a pro as well. But it's one of those things where if you're super sensitive about it, it can really get to you and it can really ruin your outlook on that specific culture. I think that I met a lot more nice people there, and a lot more people who were used to working with internationals and South African, and so they knew that there was a cultural difference there. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind, is that the different cultures can be a good or a bad thing. Ah, wow, this is a long video. I'm so sorry, guys. Finally, the cons of being a commercial flight attendant. The first con for me is that there is a higher chance of negative feedback from passengers. As flight attendants, we are seen as the face of the airline. We are seen as the face of the company that we are representing. I feel like also when you fly charter, you fly business travelers, you fly employees of a company, people who are just trying to get from point A to point B with the least amount of drama. In an airline, we take a diverse group of passengers, so it's not just business travelers, it's also families, it's also people who are flying for the first time, people going to work, it's people moving to a different part of South Africa for a new job. It's just such different groups of people with different expectations of the flight, and also it's a bigger aircraft and you take a larger number of passengers at a time, so it's just a higher chance of the negative feedback. And with that, there's also a higher chance of positive feedback. I don't know if I said that properly, but like, hopefully my point is coming across. The second con of being a commercial flight attendant here in South Africa is one that I also mentioned in my domestic versus international video, and that is the lack of opportunity to travel and explore the destinations that we fly to. I feel like that's one thing where you have to, as a commercial flight attendant, make that extra effort and go that extra step and use your days off or your vacation days or your leave days to actually go to one of your airline's destinations and spend a few days there and actually explore it, so that when your passengers ask you about it, you have like tips for them, you have recommendations for them. So hopefully, like I keep mentioning, that's something I'm going to be able to do more of once I am able to do those kind of things safely. And finally, my last con about being a commercial flight attendant in South Africa is the income. I'm talking specifically about how basically we get a certain income and that's all it is, right? It grows by a certain percentage each year, of course, inflation, and maybe if you get a bonus then you get a little bit more extra money, but there isn't that like thing of like, oh, I'm gonna go on contract for 4 months this year, so 4 months worth of extra money I'm expecting, or you know, something like that. With us in commercial flying, it's your normal salary and that's all it is. You get commission, you get S&T, and I think those are the only parts where you might be able to make a bit of extra money, but in general it is what it is. And the only chance of growing your income in any significant way is to get promoted. So right now I am a junior flight attendant. When? I didn't say if, when, because it's gonna happen. I am manifesting it into my life. When I become a senior, that'll be a promotion and I will get more money. My income will be more. I'll be getting a significant amount more than a junior flight attendant. When I become a route checker, I will get even more money than a senior. But on the plus side, it does teach me to live within my means. It does teach me to budget and not waste my money. So there's a silver lining to everything, kids. Okay guys, that is it for my charter versus commercial flight attendant pros and cons. Let me know in the comment section which you think sounds better for you. What do you think would suit your personality better? Do you think you would prefer to be a charter flight attendant versus a commercial flight attendant? Based on everything I've told you, based on my old vlogs, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a massive thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to spread good vibes and be kind always. I will see you guys all on the next video. Bye bye.